Yo, what's up everybody? Today we're diving into a topic that's both important and complex, the relationship between Black Americans and Africans. Now some of you might be thinking, hey, aren't they all black people? What's the big deal? And that's a fair question. But the truth is there's a lot of history, culture, and let's be real, baggage that informs how these two groups see each other. It's like that awkward family reunion where everyone's got that one cousin they side eye because, well, you know, family history. But instead of potato salad fights, we're talking about centuries of colonialism, slavery, and different experiences that have shaped identities and perspectives. So, buckle up as we unpack this complex relationship and explore 7 key explanations that can help us understand some of the tensions and misunderstandings between Black Americans and Africans. Because, let's face it, understanding is the first step to building bridges, right?
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the transatlantic slave trade. This chapter in human history is impossible to ignore when discussing Black Americans and Africans. The legacy of slavery casts a long shadow on both groups, but their experiences are vastly different. Black Americans' ancestors were forcibly removed from Africa, stripped of their names, cultures, and languages. Generations born into a system that denied their humanity. It's a trauma passed down, shaping their identity and view of Africa as a lost homeland. On the African side, many experienced slavery at the hands of other Africans, fueled by European demand. This created a complex power dynamic within the continent. This difference in experience is often a point of contention. Some Black Americans might ask, "Why didn't you stop it? Why did you sell us?" But Africa isn't a monolith. It's a continent with diverse cultures, languages, and histories. Both groups were victims of a brutal system designed to exploit and dehumanize. Recognizing this shared trauma is essential for building understanding. All right, so we've talked about the horrors of slavery, but the story doesn't end there. Enter colonialism, the gift that keeps on taking. Africa was carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey by European powers. Imagine rebuilding after a hurricane, and then a bunch of dudes in fancy hats show up, plant a flag, and take over. That's colonialism in a nutshell. European powers drew arbitrary borders, exploited resources, and pitted ethnic groups against each other. This divide and conquer strategy created lasting tensions and conflicts. Understanding the impact of colonialism is crucial for both Black Americans and Africans.
Okay, let's talk about something a little lighter, shall we? Culture, music, food, fashion, all that good stuff. Africa is a continent bursting with diverse cultures, traditions, and languages. It's like a giant festival, but instead of one weekend, it's been going on for centuries. But this cultural richness can also lead to misunderstandings and even conflict, especially when it comes to the relationship between Black Americans and Africans. See, after centuries of forced separation, Black American culture evolved in its own unique way, influenced by the experience of slavery, segregation, and the fight for civil rights. It's a blend of African traditions, European influences, and a whole lot of soul. It's like that amazing fusion restaurant that combines your favorite flavors from around the world. Now imagine someone from, say, Nigeria, meeting a Black American for the first time and expecting them to speak Yoruba or understand the nuances of jollof rice debates. It's like expecting a New Yorker to speak fluent Texan. They might share some similarities, but their expressions and experiences are vastly different. These cultural differences can sometimes lead to stereotypes and generalizations. Black Americans might view Africans as monolithic, assuming they all share the same culture and experiences, while Africans might perceive Black Americans as losing touch with their African heritage. Let's talk about the media, where narratives are spun, stereotypes are reinforced, and nuance goes to die. The media shapes our perceptions, often using tired tropes and harmful generalizations about Black Americans and Africans. How often do you see positive, multidimensional representations of Africa in mainstream media? It's usually famine, war, or those Save the Children commercials that make you feel guilty. And those wildlife documentaries with whispering narrators despite roaring lions. This negative imagery distorts Africa's rich history, diverse cultures, and resilience. Black Americans are often stereotyped as lazy, criminal, or perpetually angry. Movies where the black guy dies first or news focusing on crime ignore systemic issues. These portrayals create harmful divisions and reinforce prejudices. So, what can we do? Demand better from our media. Support Black creators challenging harmful narratives and showcasing diverse experiences.
Okay, let's talk about money, honey. Or, more specifically, the economic disparities between many African countries and the United States. See, when you've got one group struggling with poverty, limited opportunities, and the legacies of colonialism and conflict, and another group enjoying relative wealth and privilege, well, that can create some tension, kind of like when your friend orders lobster and champagne on your shared birthday dinner. Now, I'm not saying that all Black Americans are rolling in dough. Let's be real. Systemic racism and economic inequality are alive and well in the United States. But there's a stark contrast in the lived experiences of many Black Americans and Africans, and that difference can lead to misunderstandings and resentment. Imagine you're a Black American who's worked hard, achieved success, and wants to connect with your African roots. You travel to the continent, excited to experience the culture and connect with your heritage. But then, you encounter poverty, corruption, and a lack of basic infrastructure. It can be jarring, even disheartening, to witness these disparities firsthand. On the other side, imagine you're an African who sees images of Black American celebrities, athletes, and entrepreneurs living the good life. You might feel a sense of pride, but also a tinge of frustration.
All right, let's talk about PanAfricanism, that beautiful dream of unity and solidarity among people of African descent worldwide. It's like that giant family reunion where everyone's invited, even that one cousin who brings their pet parrot. But just like any family gathering, things can get complicated when you try to get everyone on the same page. See, PanAfricanism at its core is about recognizing the shared history, struggles, and aspirations of people of African descent. It's about standing together in the face of racism, oppression, and exploitation. It's about celebrating the richness and diversity of African cultures while acknowledging the common thread that binds us. But here's where things get tricky. The interpretation and application of Pan-Africanism can vary widely, sometimes leading to disagreements and tensions, particularly when it comes to national identity and allegiance. For some Black Americans, Pan-Africanism is about embracing their African heritage, connecting with the continent, and supporting its development. It's about recognizing that their ancestors were forcibly removed from Africa, and that their fight for justice and equality in the United States is interconnected with the struggles of Africans on the continent. For many Africans, however, national identity often takes precedence.
All right, let's talk about age, shall we? No, I'm not suggesting we all start comparing wrinkles or reminiscing about the good old days when gas was cheap and avocado toast wasn't a thing. I'm talking about the generational differences that can sometimes create misunderstandings and tensions between Black Americans and Africans. See, each generation carries its own unique set of experiences, values, and perspectives. The way a Black American millennial views race, identity, and their connection to Africa might be vastly different from how their grandparents or great-grandparents viewed those same issues. For older generations who lived through the civil rights movement, segregation, and the fight for equality, their connection to Africa might be rooted in a sense of longing for a lost homeland, a place they've only heard about in stories passed down through generations. Their understanding of Africa might be shaped by images of poverty, conflict, and struggle, reinforced by media portrayals and limited access to information. For younger generations, however, who grew up in a more globalized world with access to the internet, social media, and diverse perspectives, their connection to Africa might be more nuanced and multifaceted. They might be drawn to the continent's rich cultures, vibrant music scene, and entrepreneurial spirit. They might see Africa as a place of opportunity, innovation, and growth.
So, there you have it. 7 key explanations for the complex relationship between Black Americans and Africans. It's a relationship shaped by history, culture, economics, And yes, even a little bit of family drama. But the key takeaway here is this: understanding is the first step towards building bridges. Addressing these issues requires open dialogue and efforts to build mutual understanding and respect. It's about acknowledging the shared history and struggles while also recognizing and appreciating the unique experiences and perspectives that each group brings to the table. It's about moving beyond stereotypes and generalizations and embracing the richness and diversity of Black cultures worldwide. Many initiatives and conversations are ongoing to bridge these gaps and foster stronger connections between Black Americans and Africans. From cultural exchange programs to economic development initiatives, people are working tirelessly to build a more just, equitable and interconnected world for all people of African descent. Let's continue to learn and grow together.